What's up, guys? Welcome back to Under the Green Hood. My name is Chris Wacker, and I am going to talk about a crazy thing that I just witnessed. It's a movie, and it's called Antichrist. This is a horror film that was suggested by our friend Cyberhoudini. Thank you for this treat, my friend. Antichrist spoilers coming on right now. It stars Willem Dafoe and an actress that I'm not familiar with. Right off the bat, in the beginning of this movie, it's all black and white, slow motion. I think there's like some music, some kind of music in the background. Really well done. They've got one of those like phantom cameras that capture like slow motion and stuff really well. And it's Willem Dafoe and his lady getting it on. And it's really set the tone in this because it was shot really well. Full penetration. Beep! Full penetration in the opening prologue. There's a lot of imagery of falling in the opening shots. There's snow falling. They start messing around in the shower, so there's water falling. There's a lot of stuff falling. While Willem Dafoe and his lady are boning, their little baby child gets out of its little baby gate and goes on a walk and sees them doing their thing, and there's an open window, and the kid decides to jump out the open window. So then after that, there's scenes of them mourning the child, and the woman is having a weird time dealing with it, understandably. Everything's very quiet in the beginning. There's a lot of whisper talking, and it almost gave me a headache in the beginning because it was so slow, and it was so quiet, and I was just waiting to see like what direction they were going to go with the movie. It's like it's basically like Willem Dafoe is talking to her, like, listen to my voice, and let's just kind of get through this. Let's just do this thing. Come with me on this journey. And she's like, but I don't know how. And he's like, just listen to the sound of Willem Dafoe's voice. And she's like, okay, I guess I will. It's very quiet and very slow. And so it didn't get me. Once the movie, like after the beginning part with the kid, it took a while for the movie to actually kind of pick up speed for me. There's not a lot of music in this. There are several like tones, like a scene that's just like out showing something weird, and just hum dun chaw, like it's just a noise in the background kind of thing, and a lot of like weird imagery of things like kind of popping on screen or being like a weird slow-mo shot of something that you don't quite recognize, like the side of somebody's head or something. It's really interestingly done. Willem Dafoe's character is trying to get to the bottom of her fear issue, her grieving, her weird manic behavior, and like somehow he thinks it's because she's afraid of stuff. So she tells him she's afraid of going outside into the woods and being exposed out in the woods. And then so they go through this weird thing where they're showing us the visuals of what she's explaining, like, then I cross a bridge, I'm out in the woods, and then I'm out in the field, and there's a cabin, and he's like, don't go to the cabin, just lay down in the grass. And then she like disappears into the grass, and it looks kind of interesting, and it's really well done, except there's a big shaky cam issue, and I mean it kind of adds to the interestingness of the movie, that like it's a lot of shots are they're kind of like, here's the scene, like here's me, listen to the sound of my voice, and she's like, okay. And there's a little shaky cam thing going on, which I mean, it works fine. It doesn't really bother me because the movie gets crazy when they're out in the woods. Dafoe goes and sees he departs from her and sees a faun like a little doe out in the woods, and it's an interesting little moment. And then like the doe starts running away, and you see like a half-born baby deer hanging off of this one, like it was giving birth, and like halfway through it didn't make it, and it's still like attached to the deer, and it's really gross. And that's the first one of many really gross things and really strange, hard to watch things that happen. Okay, you know, her baby died. So there's gonna be like a baby death theme kind of thing, or maybe this is all just evil and Satan's doing or something, because the Antichrist movie. So they're out at this cabin. They actually go to the place that she's talking about. She calls it Eden, and apparently it's a place where they've hiked before, and there's a cabin that they stay at. So they decide to stay in this cabin. He's trying to help her get over her fears and deal with her grieving and stuff. And they're staying in this cabin, and it's got like a bunch of acorn trees. I don't think they're called acorn trees. I think they say like it's like I don't know, it's a specific type, whatever type of tree does acorns. I'm not an acorn ornithologist, okay? I just know that their cabin is being bombarded by acorns while they're trying to sleep. It's hitting the roof. There's a bunch of acorns. So another falling thing, another falling metaphor, I guess. They do a weird, interesting thing with the camera. I don't know exactly. I don't know like what kind of effect they did, but it's like there's a weird warping. Like they show the woods, they show the forest, and sometimes they're walking out in it, and like everything looks fine for a moment, or maybe a little shaky cam action, but then it like little things start to go brrr, brrr, like when they're walking around. So like you don't know if they're tripping out. This is a dream sequence, something weird's going on. Like it's all very uneasy and creepy and pretty just off-putting in general, the way that it's filmed. And casting Willem Dafoe immediately made it more creepy, because I was like, you don't cast Willem Dafoe unless he's gonna be weird, like he's gonna do something creepy and weird, and I'm sure of it. And like he's gonna be a villain, he's gonna be the Antichrist or something like that. After the baby deer thing happens, there is the woman sees a baby bird fall from a tree, and it's still alive, but it's like getting eaten by ants or something. And then another bird comes down, like a hawk, comes down and grabs it, takes it up to a perch, and just eats it, like eats the baby bird while it's dying or whatever. And then I was thinking, okay, so this is like a mother killing their children kind of movie. That's what I was getting the feel about. That's what I was like, okay, is that what this is going to be? There's another scene that happens not too long after that where Willem is walking out in the woods trying to chase the lady down, I'm pretty sure, and sees something rattling around in the woods, in the brush, and he goes, and it's a fox, and it's dying because it's eating itself. There's a fox that's laying on the ground, and it's just going, and it's eating itself. It's eating itself. And then there's a really kind of a cool, chilling moment. That's a little strange, but like the wolf kind of speaks, and it's like, chaos reigns. And that was the end of that chapter. Also, yeah, this movie has chapters. It's like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. You know how chapters work, sequentially. It's like that. The woman says that like she has one of her fears is nature or something right like that. So they make it like a big deal that she doesn't want to like touch the grass, and like she doesn't like being out in the woods and stuff like that. And then Willem Dafoe's doing his like therapy thing with her, and he's like, do you think, what about the nature of the human beings? That's another type of nature. I was That was my Willem Dafoe impression. So it made me think, like, okay, so is this going to be like, this is going to be a nature thing and a human nature thing. It's going to be all about natures and the nature of people and the nature of stuff and nature. Okay, where are you going with this? There's a lot of sex in this movie. There's a lot of really gratuitous nudity. There's a scene where the lady's having sex with Dafoe, and she asks him to hit her, and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." She's like, "You don't love me," and there's a lot of weird moments of like things turning into sex right after, like, her being really pissed off and yelling at him or doing something like outrageous, and then just immediately starting to like grab him and try to have sex with him. And that's very odd. Like, it happens a lot. At one point in the movie, Willem Dafoe finds out that through looking at photos that he's found, that the woman had put their child's shoes on backwards. He found that out because he got an autopsy about the child, and in it said the feet were disfigured. And then he looks at some pictures and notices that she put the child's boots on wrong, like multiple times in multiple situations and pictures that he's looking at. So she fucked up his feet. She fucked up the kid's feet, and basically killed the kid herself. And that's when I was like, okay, so she's the villain. She's evil. She's the Antichrist. Or maybe she's crazy and she thought the kid was going to become the Antichrist, so she killed him because of that. Alright, this is where it starts to get really dark and weird. And so I may censor myself as I'm explaining the things that happen in the movie. So be warned, this is going to be graphic and odd, and I might have to censor myself a tiny bit. So she's full-blown nutsballs, and sometimes is really trying to hurt him, and sometimes is trying to have sex with him. It's basically both. It's one or the other. She's either trying to love him or trying to destroy him. And there's a scene where, like, she's kind of both. She's in between both of those personalities or behaviors or whatever, and she pulls down his pants and starts to, like, fool around with him, but she's also being, like, very aggressive and mean and physically horrible. And then she knocks out Willem Dafoe. She knocks him out by smashing a giant cut piece of wood into his junk. And so he passes out. And then she's all crazy and for some reason decides to... She decides to... his... until... and it's completely disgusting, and that's the after the wood hitting, that was the first moment that made me actually go, ah! That was the first really hard to watch thing. And in between there's a lot of nudity and like real nudity. Like, that actress gets nude a lot. And I don't know how cool Willem Dafoe is with getting naked, but we see his... So she's covered in his blood, and he's got a bunch of blood on himself, and she has... While he was passed out, she did that thing, and then she also took, like, a hand drill and drilled into his leg and put a weight on his leg with a bar with a nut on the other end. And so when he wakes up, he's got a weight attached to his leg, and she has drilled through the bone of his leg and fastened on the weight and then threw away the wrench. I actually had a brief moment of almost laughing where Willem is moving through the woods very slowly because he's got that weight attached to his leg. And at some moment I saw like the little weight jiggle a little bit, and I was like, pity it's not a wheel, because it was a circular, it was like the first wheel, it was like a piece of cement that happened to be circular. And I was like, hey, if that was a wheel, it might actually help you get around. Shame on me. Alright, so even though he was kind of chasing the lady out to like find her and stuff, she like comes back to her normal brain or something and is like, where are you? Why did you leave me? And so she starts trying to look for him. And that was an odd moment. That feels like a weird idea. So then he hides in this hole that they had shown a couple of times already. He tries to hide in this little cave hole under the ground, and he sees a little thing in there. He lights a match, and he sees like a little thing underneath the ground. He doesn't know what it is. And it turns out it's a bird, and the bird starts going, cow, 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 and alerting her to his presence. So anyway, the bird is making noises, and Willem Dafoe is just pounding this bird into the dirt, and it just keeps getting up and going, call! So she can find out where he is, and she goes and finds out where he is, grabs a shovel, and starts, like, hitting his foot through the little cave hole, and then, like, goes up above the dirt, like, where he actually is. It's not, like, really a cave, it's just a burrow underneath the dirt and stuff, and she, like, takes the shovel and just, like, bashes through it until she can get to him, and then just, like, tries to kill him that way, I guess. So and then buries, like, throws a bunch of dirt on him, so he's buried. Or no, actually, that happens first. She tries to do that, and then she buries him, hoping he's dead, I guess. But he's not dead. And so she, like, brings him back to the cabin, and then more weird shit happens. So when she brings him back into the cabin, they have more of the crazy people, like, fight scene thing. She tries to have sex with him again, and he's like passing out because he's losing blood or whatever, and she grabs some scissors and I don't cover my eyes a lot, but there are certain things I don't enjoy seeing, and they really, really show you what is happening. Another big nudity scene, and she takes some scissors, and so I actually, like, not only was I going, like, cringing, instinctively my hand came up to my eyes like this. And, yeah, a lot of really disturbing, very, very disturbing imagery. And, like, that's not even, I don't even consider that imagery. That was just, like, downright graphic and hard to watch. So, be warned of this movie. So then he kills her because he's had enough, and he's possibly also going crazy, maybe. Like, who's the Antichrist? I don't know. I don't know in this movie. I guess she was. She drove him to insanity, and he ended up killing her by choking her out and then burning her body. And then as he's leaving through the forest, there's an epilogue with music, and it's a little bit black and white also, but it kind of switches in and out. It's got a weird style to it. And then there's like a bunch of people. Like there's like naked people in the land as he's leaving, and there's a bunch of people showing up. So I guess it's all about the whole like nature killing itself and then rebirth, I guess, in some way. I'm not good at figuring out what people mean with these kind of movies. It made me think of the movie Mother a lot. Just because of the artsy, strange feel to it, but it was handled in a much different way. Anyway, this was a super strange, very, very graphic. I don't even think it's a hard R movie. I think it's like beyond that. Like what you think of as a hard R, like a Deadpool movie or something. This is not a hard R. This is like double X, triple X, like the amount of nudity and sex stuff that they show, and the violence, and the very visually graphic way that they present the violence and the nudity it puts it into a whole new category. So I would not recommend this movie to anybody who is not of age and has not seen. I mean, I don't know what age that I would say you should watch this, but you definitely need to have a strong stomach. This is not for the faint of heart. I enjoyed it in a way because it was very artfully done, and it really creeped me out. But there were like the really cringy, like, oh my god, why are you showing me that kind of thing. So I would not recommend it to most people. But if you're okay with a lot of with some horror stuff, but a lot of really hard to watch stuff, then I guess this is for you. Overall, I did enjoy it because it kind of surprised me, and it had an interesting style to it in certain ways. It's super messed up. Anyway, that movie exists. Thank you, Cyber, for introducing me to this movie. I'm pretty sure you're the one that told me that. Anyway, I kind of enjoyed it. I hope some of you watch it and most of you don't. That's kind of how I feel about it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.